And this is a part and parcel. Now you can understand the situation of Pulicat as well as people who work on field. And actually, this law, now I can really see that threat where they approach us. And not only me, there are many other NGOs and many other individuals are working on Pulicat. The reason is Pulicat doesn't come under any law, I would say, not regulations, because this is a water body is been shared by two states. There's no one governing body. So lots of money in it. When that the talk, my talk is going to have a small share, a slide on that. So there's a huge politics behind it. So let us see and start. And the entire presentation, I'll be presenting it in such a way that the importance of
See it, no?
the
I'm just
water, importance
me.
of water and Pulicat
Yes,
and our governmental coast. So this is, I
100%.
wanted to talk in that way because as I'm presenting it to an a very highly learned group, you
Just
may
a
have
moment.
known everything about Pulicat or its
Actually,
regions, rainwater harvesting in the regions, weather conditions and everything. So I want to just start with my learning and whatever I have done in last 14 years. And in Tirukural, there is a one word, a proverb saying that "Neerindri amayadu ulage." As you all know, there's without water, there's no earth. So that's what. And this year's theme is value water, to conserve water. In Tamil, there is a nice word called anai. Anai means anaikattu. Anaikattu means dam, or in another way, it can be said as a hugging the water. Anaithikul. So we have to start hugging the water and save the water. And if you take the historical maps, you will may notice that the people have been started. They were hugging the water for several centuries, but unfortunately not in last 100 years. Yes, my topic today is Coromandel monsoon. And as you all know, it's a very common word called Coromandel. And this landscape is very unique, very, very unique. And it is, sorry, it's going back. And I think I'm not able to get pointer. Yes. The Coromandel coast starts from Kakinada, that is near Vijayawada, and goes up to Nagapattinam. And then its shadow region is up to the Terikadu. Terikadu is the region in Tirunelveli. It is the end point of the northeast monsoon region and starting point of southwest monsoon. And it's part and parcel of a large landscape, cultural landscape. You might have, whatever we are today, we are calling as a Dravidian landscape. It is part of this monsoon. And many of us relate Coromandel to Cholamandalam. Cholamandalam is wrongly, I would say it's wrong way of taking the title. It is Kari Manal made, as per one record made by Bishop Caldwell in 19th century. In his book, he has made a very good reference of Kari Manal made. Kari means black soil, high ground. And that is the right way of saying Coromandel. It's Kari Manal made. And if you go to along this coast, from Pulicat or even Andhra Pradesh to Kerala, you will find many villages having the name called Kari Manal. The photo on the right hand, the photo on your right hand side, this is the actual Kari Manal. The soil comes from the lava. That's lava. As we are very close to the Andaman region where we have a lot of volcano in the sea. So that lava, when it breaks down and the rocks, and it becomes black, and it is also associated with our black cotton soil. And this region is rich in black cotton, rich in cotton growth. Once upon a time, we were one of the world largest producer of cotton. Till up to 1790, this region was 15% of the GDP, world GDP. So you can imagine the scale. That's the question also you have to ask. You have to ask yourself, why the British, why the Portuguese, why the Dutch first established the administration on this coast, not even in Calicut. Full administration was established on this coast, particularly in Pulicat. And the word monsoon means mosum in Arabic, which is it all anglicized into a word called monsoon. So now I have just explained about what is Coromandel and what is monsoon, and it is all associated with the black soil in our coast. And now you may not see the black soil in Marina Beach due to many other mistakes we have done so for in the last 100 years, due to which the sand getting accumulated on the beach side and this black soil has gone into a level of 3 feet below the surface. So for the last 1 decade, I'm campaigning personally with my support of my wife, Save Pulicat to Save Chennai, for many several reasons, which we will see today. This campaign was started basically to make Pulicat recognized because Pulicat doesn't come under any regulations. It's not even been recognized as a wetland in our Tamil Nadu legislation or even in Andhra Pradesh. Now only it's getting attention. For last couple of years, it has been a little bit of attention has come, and it's not even been getting attention as like Chilika Lake, Chilika Lagoon in Orissa, because Chilika Lagoon is located within Orissa full lagoon, and it is headed by the committee is headed by the chief minister. Unfortunately, Pulicat is like a no man's land. Today's agitation you have seen on the screen today is basically people do make a lot of money whenever the Pulicat changes its depth. Automatically the chunk of land get exposed, and that real estate mafias does a lot of work over there. Yes, my talk, I don't want to bore you with a lot of statistics and everything. It is let us take a small observation around us. And so my talk will start from micro level to macro level. As I move on, I'll move from your table tumbler to the global level. So we all drink water, yes, of course. And where is the source? Today we get water in bubble top and we get water in plastic bottles. Do you know where is the source? Unfortunately, 30 years back, we knew that our source of water is under our feet itself from our well. Today, we are not known about where is the source of our water we are drinking today. That is the biggest mistake in our life. Without knowing where is the source, we will be less bothered about saving it. It's like out of sight, out of mind. We can say about sustainability, we can say about recycling everything. First, everything we have to know is the source. Where is the source? Is it from my land? Is it from my neighborhood? Is it from my city? And in the macro level, do we invite them? That's what the question is. Invite the clouds. Are we planning our city in such a way that do we invite our clouds, rain clouds? Unfortunately, we don't. It's the least bothered element in our earth, the clouds. But the Coromandel monsoon has got lots of things we can learn from that. So today's talk starts from the basic micro level to macro level. And now I'm going towards the street level now. As your source of water on the table, now I'm going to the street level. You know that we drain the water and all the water goes to the stormwater drainage. And many of us even we not know where the stormwater drainage ends up. Do we have any kind of collecting point? I don't think Chennai has got any kind of collecting point. Hardly a couple of last year, some work was done in Vadapalli temple tank. Unfortunately, most of us we not know where the rainwater goes to, and it is all large drainage tanks which gets accumulated with lots of mosquitoes and everything. So we keep the streets clean, we keep the streets without water stagnant during the monsoon, but we don't know where the water goes. But if you take about 30 years back, we used to have one element called well. That well used to reach us the actual ground level and groundwater aquifer. And today we are mostly using 99% of the Chennai people use only the bore well. And we harvest the water through the bore well and it goes up to the second level of the surface. And unfortunately, this water is a stale water. It is not the fresh. Actually, we are supposed to harvest at this level, and we don't do that. So it is misunderstanding. Like we say that, okay, the street should not get stagnant with the water and all. So we have a drainage system. But where this drainage system ends up, that's a question. In about 100 years back, all our road were aligned in such a way that the water goes to the nearest lake or a pond. There are very good examples there. I will show the example in a couple of slides later. So this is, I'm taking you to the street level. So where is the water? Yes, this is a learning which I learned in Pulicat. This Sri Kalakasti temple, built in 1510 to symbolize the victory of Vijayanagara kingdom over another Hindu king. And actually, the Vijayanagara worships one type of god, and the Gajapati Raju worships another type of god. So they had a large enmity, and they overcome. Vijayanagara king built this in 1510, and during 2010, this temple Gopuram had a crack, and it fell immediately within 2 weeks, and it was reconstructed again as a new temple. You believe me or not, I learned from a local mason at Pulicat, because this is part of the Pulicat ecosystem. The river, what you're seeing is the Swarnamukhi river, and it is part of the ecosystem of the temple. And that mason was sitting on the side of the temple, and he was talking to me in Tamil, saying that, do you think this temple broke because of some kind of a structural failure? And I said, no, it can't be something else. Yes, he said, yes, we have made a bigger blunder. The temple is directly linked with the water body. As I stored in the previous slide, we have a black cotton soil, and the black cotton soil have a character of expanding during the winter and contracting during the summer. As it goes ups and down, this kind of crack do form. There is a recording in ASI saying that Gopuram's foundation has got a crack in 25 years back records. Unfortunately, we engineers, we didn't notice it. And this temple purely depend on the groundwater level of the surrounding area. Unfortunately, that was not taken care, and whatever the water body is around us is also missing. So automatically this dry area became a danger for this temple Gopuram and started cracking. I'm taking to the neighborhood level. This is a slide to show you how water is important and what I learned from Pulicat also. So black cotton soil has got an expansion characteristics, and it has made the temple to crack, and it is rebuilt in 2010. And if you notice, every temple is to have a temple or mosque is to have a temple tank. And if you notice, the temple tank is not aligned as per Vastu. It's all as per the groundwater level or groundwater movement. In Mylapore temple or in Parthasarathi temple, every temple, the temple tank is located in different location just to balance the Gopuram and the structure. What a beautiful thing, because all these temples, Gopuram and all, the depth of the foundation is not more than 10 feet, not even more than 6 feet, and I found in a large Gopuram. So it's purely a nature-oriented construction, and all the characteristics of the area has been taken care while designing this building. So what a beautiful thing. This is what I learned as per the water in our neighborhood level. Then this later I am taking into a larger scale now. There's a question I have to ask you. You all know about Western Ghats. It's a large World Heritage site, a ghat on the Konkan coast and Malabar coast. What do we have? People say we have Eastern Ghats, but is it like a Western Ghats range? Not at all. We have scattered around, we have a lot of scattered mountain ranges, and it is Eastern Ghats part of it. In the Western Ghats, the rain clouds go and hit the mountain and the waterfalls, and it gets rain during the June to September. But unfortunately, we don't have that. So we have to ask, what was the main element which makes us get water or rain? It's purely wetlands. If you take all the records of the British records of last 100 years, we would have noticed Chennai is a wetland ecosystem, or the surrounding area. If you go to Machilipatnam, or if you go to the south of Chennai, Kaliveli, you might notice that it's completely a wetland ecosystem. We are purely dependent on the wetlands to attract rain clouds. It's unlike Western Ghats. Southeast coast of is a scattered Ghats, which purely depend on the wetland ecosystem or coastal lagoons. And another thing which is completely missing today is dunes. Whatever I'm speaking today is which is part of this ecosystem and part of the Phuliket ecosystem. The coastal sand dunes. It is almost erased out of our map. And we all know about this very famous Kollivai Pisasu. It's nothing but a natural element, which is nothing a burning of methane. Got whenever within the sand dunes we get a lot of water accumulated, and due to the vegetation falling onto the water and due to the firm water, what do you call that? And due to the uh, that water within the water, the vegetation, all this leaves gets soaked, and by that methane gas comes in, and we get that fire during the randomly during the summertime. So people used to say Kollivai Pisasa. It is the reason. There's a nice word. Kollivai Pisasa is not a ghost. It's actually a natural element. It's all happening during the summertime along the eastern side of the sand dunes of the coast. Unfortunately, we have flattened everything. Chennai completely flattened, and up to Pondicherry, Nagapattinam, we have flattened everything, and we have built all the cities near the coast. Only we are leaving 500 meters. But if you take the historical records, we may say all the temples, even the settlements, were away from the sand dunes, including your Parthasai temple and Mylapore temple. Originally, the fishermen's settlements. Now I'm taking into a larger picture, and the Chennai is the only region, or Phuliket Chennai ecosystem has got the only region in the country, in the world, to have largest number of high roads. The roads built on top of the wetlands, higher than the wetland. Unfortunately, we don't find the hydrology. This water has to go this side. Phuliket, the blender of Phuliket is, the death of Phuliket is due to this, which I'll show you in the next couple of slides. And this region has got a lot of neighborhoods with a name called Pakams, Vakam, Nungambakam, Palavakam. Do you know what Pakam means? Fishermen living on a Nattam, high ground. Economic activity is 6 months catching fish, 6 months weaving. This is the pattern of our lifestyle for several centuries. Last 100 years, we changed it, and the neighborhood or the vernacular knowledge also didn't get transferred into English researches or whatever academics we are doing it in English. We didn't translate all the knowledge, and we built everything, and we only put some kind of a small tubes under these roads to pass on the water. But unfortunately, it is completely broken the ecosystem of the wetlands. This is the best example of a Velachery road in Chennai. And another beautiful thing about Coromandel coast, and you have to understand that whatever Coromandel I'm today talking about is a holistic picture. We can't take monsoon as just like that. The rain clouds of monsoon doesn't come just for the sake of the wind pushing it towards the coast. No, it has got many elements which has to be helping them or has to invite the clouds. The one element is the tropical dry evergreen. As you all staying in IIT, and IIT is the last and few 2% of the landform of the tropical dry evergreen region. It means the tree doesn't shed leaves. And if you notice, this is the only region. The Coromandel coast is the only region, and a small part in Sri Lanka in the world, which is called as a tropical dry evergreen. And unfortunately, 98% of the land vegetation has been destroyed by exotic trees and haphazard planning. So the uniqueness, Coromandel monsoon depend on this. And the Coromandel monsoon depend on the coastal sand dunes of this region. This is the starting point of our end, Phuliket and Nagapattinam, and the shadow region of the Nagapattinam northeast monsoon region, or the Coromandel monsoon. And the god associated with the forest. Gindi National Park, 98% has disappeared. The god associated with the INR. There are many type of INR. Every INR is associated with the forest, and it all depends on the trees and the plants of the region. Unfortunately, we have forgotten, and the urban gods have taken over, and he has become less important. And we had a large history behind this INR and the forest. Unfortunately, we never recorded it. Only in the local songs, vernacular songs, there were things. Some recordings have been recorded now. And he is also part of our monsoon ecosystem. His festival is associated with the monsoon of the Coromandel Coast. The another beautiful thing about this region is famous for temples. The temples, mosque, and the churches built with a solid rock. The rock which is associated with only this Coromandel region, is Chaconite. A beautiful rock, and this rock unfortunately is been exploited to the core. All the roads are built on by this. The Britishers and the Dutch built a port and everything. Now we do all the infrastructure projects, including port and everything, with this rock. And that's the one of the main reason most of our Eastern Ghats have vanished in the last 100 years. Now I'm taking to the larger picture. Please watch this slide very closely. Coastal lagoons. We have one side, we have another side. This is a southwest monsoon region side, northeast monsoon region side. Unfortunately, all the large wetlands, nationally important wetlands, are located only on this side. Even though they have the Western Ghats. Why it's so? We have to ask the question. And also, the Central Asian bird movement is only on this side. All the bird sanctuary is only on this side. The nature didn't do anything on for a fun. It has got some character to it. And recently we learned it. Whatever you do on this island will affect this coast, which we can talk in later also. But this slide, we can understand the importance of the wetlands on the southeast coast of India, and particularly Tamil Nadu got all the major wetlands. This is Vijayawada, and this is Chilika, which is the largest lagoon in the country and second largest in the world. And this is the Pulicat Lake coast. Unfortunately, we are using the word lake. I'll tell you the reason in the next couple of slides. And this is another third largest wetland in India. It's called Kaliveli ecosystem, or say wetland complex. And everything is located on the Tamil Nadu side only. It's a Coromandel coast side only. And I'm putting the colonial settlements plan, a map. If you check this map with the slide, with the previous slide, you will understand all the settlements were happened only on the lagoon, coastal lagoons. All the settlements, including the Madras, including Calcutta, including Bombay, including Goa. How beautiful it is. This tree started from here, and particularly Pulicat. When the Vasco da Gama arrived here, they didn't make a big settlement, but the first settlement of the Portuguese, 1502, they built it in Pulicat only. And now the question should be raised, why they came to this region? Why they came to this region particularly? Why all the European guys were very keen of settling here? It is all got to do with the monsoon, and it's all got to do with the produce we do in this region, the products we produce in this region. It's all got to do with the monsoon. This is a slide I got it from IIT Kharagpur. They have done an exhaustive and wonderful work. This is a slide which shows the 40 years of data of the cyclone movement. West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Odisha. And if you notice, all the movement all taken place along on the wetland only. The cyclone moves only on the wetland zone region only. It means wherever there's a moisture, the cyclone moves towards that. And particularly the Coromandel monsoon is called as the post-monsoon or the winter monsoon. When 25 states of India depend on southwest monsoon, there's only one state fully depend is Tamil Nadu of the Coromandel monsoon or the northeast monsoon. Rayalaseema of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu coast depend on northeast monsoon, which is we calling it as a Coromandel coast. So you can understand the importance of the cyclone, the movement of the rain clouds, the importance of the wetland, coastal ecosystem, the sand dunes, and the god and the tropical dry evergreen region. So if you miss any one of them, we will have a climate change. So it's all site specific. We made a mistake through our knowledge, and unfortunately, it is reflecting on us. This is a nice slide showing the movement of the clouds, satellite picture in 2015 cyclone of northeast monsoon. It is avoiding all this region and coming towards the Chennai and Pondicherry region. And if you notice on the side, I call it as a trade winds. And in the previous slide, I told you why this Britishers, Dutchess all settled here. They settled for the basic reason of trade winds. Southwest monsoon is called as, I called as a import winds, and northeast monsoon, that is Coromandel monsoon, I call as it as a export wind. All the navigators, they know during this monsoon, the ship get pushed away towards the other regions like Singapore, Malacca, Japan, and everything. And the Britishers and the Portuguese, before the Portuguese arrived here, Vasco da Gama arrived here, everything was catching the coast. Every ship is to catch the coast and reach here. But only the Arabs who had the secret of crossing the ocean. And they had the secret of the monsoon. They had the secret of sailing across the ocean with the support of the wind. So trade winds played a major role in our globalization, in our economics. That's how the history started. Particularly the Coromandel region was famous for this sail. The European sail were made out of linen, and the Egyptians also, they made it partially with linen and cotton. But the Coromandel coast cotton, particularly there were a group called Watiyar group. They make a sail and they paste the sail with tamarind seeds powder paste and become stronger. And one sail can withstand for 8 months. This sail can withstand only for 1 month maximum. So the mighty emperor, the mighty kingdom, the mighty colonialization started basically by this sail. It's like an aeroplane in those days. Large exports, fighting against each other, colonializing the Indonesia and Indian region. Purely, they learned that cotton makes the difference. And this region of Coromandel Coast were 15% of the world GDP. I'm not exaggerating. These are all numbers we gathered from archival material in Lisbon. Translating it from, thanks to J. Celia Stephen, who's translated everything into English from Portuguese. So now you can understand the Coromandel monsoon importance and the economy. And now you can understand why people first settled on this coast and how come Chennai become bigger and everything. All the British colonial empire started from here. All before that, but before Madras, the largest city was Pulicat. Pulicat is nothing but located on the north of Chennai. You can see the size. Bigger than Delhi, bigger than Bombay, bigger than Calcutta, bigger than, there was no Bombay at all at this time, and bigger than Calcutta and bigger than Chennai or Madras. And the funny part is, before arriving in India, the Portuguese, Dutch, and the British had an idea saying that the wool, the sheep, cotton was growing on a plant. After arriving in India only, they came to know that cotton grows in plant in a smaller thing, but they thought it was not a sheep. Now, originally they thought a sheep, now it is not a sheep, it is a plant, it's with a flower. So that's the biggest thing. And you can see on the side, it is all, now it is called lungi, and lungi in Pushtun language, it means turban, but the actual word should be sarong. The word sarong is used commonly in Indonesia and Singapore and Malaysia. And if you go to Singapore, till today, this is called as Palayakkad. The Palayakad means Pulicat. It's a broken word of the Pulicat. Originally, this place is called as Palaverkad, and English they called as Pulicat, and the Portuguese and Dutch they called as Palayakad. Until today, if you go to Mecca, if you go to Indonesia, this dress is called as Palayakad. But unfortunately, people are not able to recognize this. When I asked them last year, when I met them, a couple of people in Indonesia and Malaysia and Vietnam. So what a beautiful thing. What's a beautiful history just sitting on the side of our Chennai. The Palayakad, which changed the history of India. Now I'm coming to Pulicat. This is what my 13 years of journey. So now I have covered the ecosystem, I covered the history, I covered the now I'm going to talk about the particularly the Chennai, northern Chennai Pulicat. This is Palaverkadu in Tamil, and this entire water body is called as Pulicat Lagoon. And it is not a lake, unfortunately, it has been still been called as, but few research papers we have written, and Indian Institute of Science, they have started mentioning it as a lagoon. The entire water body should be called as, wetland is called as lagoon. Lagoon is the right scientific word. Size of the, sorry. The size of the lagoon, 759 square kilometer. Chennai corporation limit is 426 square kilometer. And there are two parts. 450 square kilometer, this part, and remaining part is this part. There is a one line in between. That is the high road. And without knowing the hydrology of this location, the British built the road, and we started using it for ISRO rocket launch. And this split the water body into two, and this region became dry, and this became the major lake where the river meets. Swarnamukhi river on this part, Kalangi river, and Arani river, and the end is the Kosastalaya river. Palaverkadu, which is the Anglicized word of Pulicat. A Tamil word of Pulicat. Palaverkadu means Palamayana Vergal Konda Kadu, old root forest. Old root means only in the mangrove forest you see old roots. When you cut the mangrove trees, you see the old root or the propping out of the water. So the old root forest. So what a beautiful thing. That's the toponymy of in the Tamil language. Everything is related with the region geology and geography. Old root forest is Palaverkadu. If you take any name in Chennai, it will have some kind of association with the geology and geography of the location. And this water body has got major problems. Today we saw the one problem in online. One port and another port. And this is Sriharikota Rocket Launching Center, Irukam Island. And this is the line which divides the water body. Major chunk goes to the Andhra, a remaining chunk, but which is the fertile chunk comes to the Tamil Nadu. The major problem started with the road construction. So this became dry, and also this is the water inlet which keeps this water brackish from the sea, through the freshwater rainwater from the rivers. Unfortunately, this became blocked, and there's another inlet over here that is also blocked. The only inlet which is taking care of this part of this region is this Tamil Nadu side. And I don't think another 100 years this water body or wetland will be surviving. And the road and many other rules and regulations which are constantly being changed. The best one is the recent change of 10,000 meter buffer zone around the lagoon, which is the 10-kilometer buffer zone, is being reduced to 500 meters purely for some development works. As you all know, as you all read newspaper, you would know what is development work is happening. So development works is being reduced. All the EIA, environmental impact assessment, been issued basically with this. So what do you think? Just crossing one couple of meters, the entire ecosystem changes? Not at all. But unfortunately, we are following it. And this is the brackish water lagoon, as was the threshold of our modern administration in India. Another bigger problem is the siltation and the blocking of the rivers and seawater. As I told you, this entry point has been blocked, this entry point has been blocked, and also the river entrance also been blocked nowadays. So we are finding major, as you know, the area when there's a little bit of dryness, a huge chunk of area will be exposed. For example, the entire IIT area will be exposed at this Somebody will put a patta and put a plot and make it as real estate development. Unfortunately, no what single authority takes care of this. ISRO independent and district collector of Thiruvallur and district collector of Nellore. So unfortunately, we don't have as like the Chilika Lagoon in India, where the Chief Minister of Orissa takes care of the water body. Here, somebody has to take care. We are advocating and we are pushing forward for that. Let us see. The lagoon in 1955, as it dried up and has the major southern part. And you can see small wetlands, small water bodies. All the water bodies been hugged, water's been hugged before flowing into the sea. So our rivers are not perennial. It doesn't flow 12 months. Our rivers flow only for 2 months. The excess water of the pond and the lake and the larger water body only goes into the river. Kuvams not supposed to have water throughout the year. Unfortunately, we keep it. I don't know how we have to understand. And Adyar River also throughout the year it has been having water. But our ecosystem, the best example is the Palar River. Only 2 months of the year it will have water. Our ecosystem is supposed to work like that. For 8 months or 9 months, the river has to be dry. And we have to hug the water and store it near to our house. That's why I asked you in the first slide, when you drink water, you have to know where is the source, how the water came into your tumbler. Pulicat, Palaverkadu, the bird watching spot is here. Many people mistake it and they come to here to watch the bird, but they have to go here during the December and the January months to see the feeding area. This spot you will have Nallapattu Bird Sanctuary where you will see a bird getting the breeding area, the feeding area and breeding area. And the center is the Sri Harigotta's Rocket Launching Center, the only center in India. Pulicat Cemetery, the oldest and the first cemetery in India. And you should know it's the largest collection of Dutch people in India. You should ask how come they came and died here and got killed here with malaria and cholera. It's basically for the trade. It's basically for the cotton. It was not for the spice. Unfortunately, we are calling it a spice. Hardly in India spice grows. Only pepper grows. The spice land is the Indonesian islands. And here it's cotton. Our history has been completely changed into spice fruit, but it should be a cotton fruit. We are fighting for it, and we have presented our paper in a couple of sessions in World Heritage committees. Let us see how things move. The largest collection of cemetery. It's a beautiful cemetery you have to visit in Pulicat in north of Chennai. And another ecosystem or the system which kept the water body alive till today is by the local people and the local tribe. This tribe people who catch all the prawns with hands. They don't use net. And these people, they use net and they call it as a Padu system. It's meaning sharing. Each village will have a share of the lagoon on rotational basis. So everybody will get a share of the fish, and within a week, 2 or 3 times, so nobody will go hungry. It's an ancient eco management system. And unfortunately, today it's been slowly wiped out with the push of the politics and the other community problems. And they started even telling that we will do licensing work. Unfortunately, that will kill the water body. The entire vigilance was done by these people. They took care of the water body for several centuries. Now let us not take it over. Let them have it. Let them protect it and let them take care of it. As I told you in the previous slide with India map, with all the coastal lagoon on the southeast coast of India, it's part of this Central Asian Flyway. It's a Pulicat, Nallapattu Bird Sanctuary, large number of flamingos and every types of birds, including the bar-headed goose, which is the highest altitude crossing bird in the world, arrives on this coast of India. The Central Asian Flyway. Exclusive, very exclusive. And we get birds from Siberia to Arctic and from even Canada. This is a very recent finding of us. During one of our online catch, we found out this photo. And here, this photo was taken in Marina Beach in Chennai. saying danger, sharks. And we were finding it, and it's none other than this Pondicherry shark. It is called as Pondicherry shark. It is an extinct species now. It is called a coromandel shark. These sharks comes to all these coastal lagoons to breed. They, even though they live along the ocean, Indian Ocean, but for breeding during the winter season, they come here. But last 30 years, due to overexploitation and the pollution in our water body, these sharks have vanished. And IUCN, I am a member of ICOMOS and IUCN in India. So in IUCN, this shark is a dead listed one, extinct species. And it is part of a history. It is part of, this photo was taken in 1930. By 1980, entire sharks, no sharks visits anymore. And fortunately, I saw a couple of sharks last month, but I don't know whether that was Pondicherry shark. The name was given by a French guy because this shark belongs to this region, Coromandel Coast. And it's purely visiting because of the monsoon. If the fish doesn't visit, your rain pattern will also change. That was told by a local woman to me. Then another beautiful thing, as I told, Arabs were the mightier of this ocean in terms of maritime trade. They had their language, which is a monsoon language in Tamil. It is called as Aravi, ARWI. Aravi is nothing but Tamil. It is Tamil, written in Arabic scripts, and their mosque and all will look like a temple. It's not like whatever you see as a Hindu-Muslim problem. It is not like that. Almost all the mosques were built with this Kal Pallivasal. In Tamil, it is called Kal Pallivasal, stone mosque, built in the traditional Tamil Dravidian architecture. You go to Keelakarai, this is a Keelakarai mosque, preserved. Keelakarai means near Ramanathapuram. So now you can see, you have to see the entire monsoon as a holistic picture. It is not a piecemeal or urban design, we call it as a sprinkling fragmentism. You speak piece by piecemeal. No, it is the holistic way. The language, culture, the architecture, the fish, the forest, the god, everything is interrelated with the Coromandel monsoon. And ours is unique, as the world surrounding all the monsoons are unique to their region. Guys, don't mistake me. This is a slide which I need to show it to you all, which we have done a research with the Central University of Tamil Nadu in Thiruvarur. And we were very curious to know the rocket launching pattern and the rain during that time. And if you noticed, all the rocket launch happens only in the northeast monsoon time, not in the southwest monsoon time. And as you all know, it is all because of the earth is closer to the closer to the I don't know the right way, closer to the moon or anything. And it is also the fuel you consume for the rocket launch is lesser during the northeast monsoon time. And we were shocked. And this is purely, we learned it from a local fisherman saying that whenever there is a rocket launch for 3 weeks, there will not be any rain. It's a strong message. We published this paper also, and we noticed it. These are all rocket launching timing. And the biggest learning was this 2016 Varda cyclone. The monsoon, the only cyclone which is crossing the land is Varda, which is full of air, wind, without any rain. Remaining all got diverted. And don't mistake me, it is all because it still has to be, a lot of research has to be done. Due to the heat island formed along the Pulicat region, the pattern of the movement has changed. It may be a very strong statement, but I believe in that and I stand by that. And the Gaja also, we saw that. Gaja cyclone. This is the best picture to show the movement of the cyclone during that time in 2016. And during 2016, there were more than 7 rocket launch, and the entire rain pattern also changed in this region. And another mistake also we have done. This is the original map of 1910 and 2020. And this is a very commonly known fact. Nugambakam tank and the large tank of Mylapore. The T Nagar is located on the tank. The Mount Road is on the tank bund. How that's the way we learned, that's the way we, because this is the knowledge of the vernacular didn't get translated in the English books of our syllabus. This is the best example. This paper I presented it in an international forum, and this got published also. The basic reason is, till up to 1920, we had the nature in the center. We live around the monsoon. We live around the nature. Our culture was around that. Our economy was around that. The cotton, the spice, the rice. India, particularly Coromandel Coast, was the largest exporter of rice till up to 18th century. And we kept it away, brought the capitalism in the center. And whatever the reason, 10 kilometers becomes 500 meters for the sake of EIA. I'm making a strong statement, but it has to be spoken. Basically, we lost this vernacular thinking. And I'm presenting everything in English today. It should have been spoken in Tamil, but we learned everything in English. Within 100 square kilometer, that's what I learned. Within 100 square kilometer, our life is completely nature culture linked, including the Sri Kalahasti temple to Kalamkari. Everything is linked with the nature, our economy and everything. We have been taken for granted, I would say. We put everything into pollution and everything. It's one of the reasons. But when the ecosystem has been changed, climate change also happens, and it happened in a large scale. We have to bring in our vernaculars into, unfortunately, our modern education is universal. We talk about everything from apple to orange, everything we learn around the world, but we don't learn from what is the local. It's a mistake done by everybody else, by all of us. So to stop the climate change, to bring in a beautiful Parva Malai Katru, that is Coromandel monsoon, we need to understand the vernacular. So we have to design by vernacular. So I close my talk today with this small Tirukural. If the cloud restrain their gift, grant no rain, the treasures fail in ocean's wide domain. Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you so much for the time. And I'm happy that I presented today with all the hurdles, and it will serve the purpose. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank
any
you.
Questions, I can.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for the very nice presentation. You've thrown light on multiple dimensions, history, more importantly, understanding the history close to our home is a big enlightenment for all of us, apart from the water bodies and all the associated damage which has done to the water body over the last 100 years. So we have a few audience here, and I think there are a few more audience in the YouTube, watching on the YouTube channel. We'll just open the questions to the audience here first. Professor Balaji, do you have questions?
Actually, this is a very, a heavy topic to talk in a small 45 minutes time frame.
Yeah, you're right. Anybody else? Do you have any questions?
They can send a WhatsApp to me, not an issue.
Yeah, I think we will be having questions from the people on YouTube, and also later we will collate it. But sure. My question to you, sir, is you have studied Pulicat Lake and the history of Pulicat Lake, but there are also recent issues with respect to contamination.
Yes.
Particularly Ennur Creek, we hear a lot of contamination happening because of industrialization.
Yes.
Do you know how much of that has impacted the Pulicat Lagoon?
Okay. Ennur Creek, which is about beyond the 10 kilometer buffer zone. But as I said, the entire Buckingham Canal, the ecosystem, when you want to preserve Buckingham Canal and its ecosystem, you will preserve the entire Coromandel coast, starting from Kakinada to south of Nagapattinam. As you said, industrialization along the along the Ennur region with the port and thermal power station, you completely destroyed it. There is no water. That one example is the Pondicherry shark doesn't visit anymore the Ennur region. So we changed this ecosystem. The entire it has become a heat island, I would say. The entire region has become a heat island, and also we have the opening of the mouth to the sea is randomly happening nowadays, and it should happen in a proper monsoon time. It's not happening anymore like that because the fresh water doesn't come into the Kosasthalia river, and from the only the excess water we do get, only the excess water of the tanks which along the Kosasthalia, it comes to the Ennur region, and this the pollution is added the thing, and all the all the marine ecosystem, marine whatever the life surrounding the ecosystem also been completely destroyed. So there's a revival is, I would say revival is impossible and not possible at all. In the Pulicat way, Pulicat is little bit is having its life because of the traditional vernacular management system, environmental management system. The water body has been protected, and there's no large development as such in industrialization. Only in the last couple of 1 decade back, the SEZ has been opened up, and only reduction is the water inlet from the Kalangi and the Swarnamukhi and Arni river is reduced, and the brackish water, the brackishness of the water is, the salinity of the water is increased, and the prawns and the crabs have little bit, the population has reduced a lot. And another biggest hurdle we are seeing it is the unregulated aquaculture of prawns farm near the water body. In Tamil Nadu side, it has been banned, and still we have a lot of illegal prawn aquaculture thing. But in Andhra, it's legal. So that's why I said in the talk, there's no one authority to protect the water body. Till today, there's no single person. So there's a big mafia group wants to take over the water body, and law also plays according to that. And this Ennur Creek, I doubt it is possible to revive, and it is the fly ash we dump into it, and a large port encroachment also is destroying it, and the mouth to the river with the sea is also moving randomly because that knowledge is purely with the local people. So we are not able to understand why it is randomly the mouth is getting open and closing. One of the reason is the accumulation of the soil because of the port. So it's a big, cumbersome, complex issue, and we can't go back also because we need development, we need money, we need growth, and it has to be sacrificed, I would say.
Mr. Xavier Balaji here.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for the nice overview.
Yes,
I just want to pick up the question from your closing remarks right now.
Yes,
certainly the development would also have to coexist along with the environment.
Yes,
certainly there's a lot of livelihood that is involved, and then if you look at the port as a whole, it's bringing in so many millions of dollars, and it is actually contributing to the GDP of the entire region also quite a bit. Now, do we have any plan in terms of how this development can probably take place in a sustainable manner? So that there is a blueprint that is there in place, and which can probably help the government in terms of governing this entire region in a little more better way, rather than looking at each of the issues and development in a piecemeal manner.
Yes.
So is it possible for us to come up with a blueprint, and what is the maximum capacity through which this can probably be developed? Whether have we already reached that capacity?
No,
And
it is almost the
if
same.
if that is not the case, whether is it possible for us to do that, or if is it possible for us to go back on certain things, because we are actually altering the ecology beyond its breaking point.
Yes.
So there has to be some blueprint. Then
Yes.
hopefully the development plans and the governance can probably revolve around that.
Okay.
Your thoughts or views on that? Thanks.
Yes, as I told you before, and I also, as I got an experience with working in other sensitive projects in this country, I just want to share you something. 25 states depends on southwest monsoon. Only a small region, which is not even relevant in our regulations and rules and act and whatever we pass in parliament, even in the Farmers Act, it's the Coromandel Coast. So whatever you put in this Coromandel Coast will not affect the remaining region of the country. In Nayagan movie, they call, I'm putting boldly in this public today. Nayagan movie, in Tamil movie, they call saying that for four people to live, one person can die. That was the mentality in terms of our planning. And this particular Coromandel Coast was not even understood by in thoughts in the last several years. This is unique. It's purely a coastland wetland ecosystem, coastal lagoon wetland ecosystem, purely having its own what do you call that, forest vegetation. Unfortunately, this all be changed. So whatever we are today, the Parva Malai, the seasonal rainfall is not there anymore. We have only have cyclones. We have become we have come to a level where we are purely dependent on the cyclones for rain, for not even rain, for water. Parva Malai, the seasonal rainfall is missing today. The sand dune is missed. The catching the water with the wetlands moisture only. As I showed you one slide, the wetland act as one of the major reason to. This is one of the slide I have to show you. This one. All the cyclones crosses the wetland only, wherever there is a high level of moisture. We are completely dependent on the cyclone for that. Parva Malai, the seasonal rainfall is completely wiped out from our map due to the exploitation, due to the large industrialization. Yes, we do need industrialization, but what kind of industrialization? Is it a nature-based economy or it is a purely capital-based economy? Nature-based economy, nowadays IUCN and United Nations in SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, we are talking about nature-based economy. We have to move forward in it. Ports, yes, ports are very important, of course I say, but how come Marina Beach is becoming larger and larger? We have to understand why it is becoming larger and larger. This the wrong way of designing a port, I would say. It's a strong statement I'm putting. I'm risking my life, but it's a strong statement, yes. The soil is getting accumulated on this coast. It should not happen that way. It has to have a black cotton soil or a black color Coromandel soil. So this is which beyond our capacity, beyond our level of things. And unfortunately, we can't go back. That is what my answer is. And only way we can extend the life of the region is take care of your surroundings, build wells, forget about the bore wells. In the neighborhood, build a lot of tanks, including temple tanks with mosque tanks, and we start having rain, Parva Malai, regularly, or a regular rainfall, not only depend on the cyclone. And the blueprint is impossible. That's what I learned. And whatever the projects, whatever we have crossed, this is all learning through my mistakes also. What I have presented here, it's purely learning, and we don't find this in one full book or a research. It's a collection of books. So far I've submitted 5 papers and it is all published, and it is all a collection of things. So unfortunately, I'm not able to give you a correct answer, but we can't go back. It's not possible at all for Coromandel Coast.
So what in your view can be done? I think one of the questions which is coming in the chat box is what communities can do, what people can do apart from policies, regulations, which will take its own time.
Policies, regulations beyond our layman's control. It's purely capitalistic control. And a layman, whatever I learned in my life, in my family, with my wife and children, I should say We have to go back in handmade lifestyle. We have to start buying things which are made with hand. That will make a huge economic change. Whatever Palmyra craft I am thing, or even a bamboo, or whatever you are saying, whatever your regional economic thing, support system in about 40 years back, please go back to that and start having at least 10 to 20% of your life expenditure on that handmade. That will make a small change within your house. Next is the bringing a neighborhood change. First, you have to look into your stormwater drainage. Are we are we hugging the water? Are we storing the water within our region, within our neighborhood? Whatever the rain falls onto that region has to be stored in that region, so that the moisture will be there, the forest will be, all the endemic species will grow again, and we'll have the Paruvamalai. So that's a vision which I'm taking from the macro level to micro level. Start from your lifestyle, which is purely has to go towards the little bit of handmade. From your food to your cloth you're wearing, start wearing handmade stuff. Start doing things with handmade stuff. Then move into your neighborhood, then move into the other things. Policies, definitely it is not possible in this particular globalized world. But if you start doing this personally, the economy also will get improved. The lots of trees will be saved. Best example is your Palmyra tree, Panai Maram. If you start consuming the Palmyra sugar instead of your industrial sugar, which is poison, if you start consuming your Palmyra sugar for your coffee and tea, not the original, I would say if you go to your village and get your own Palmyra sugar, things will make a big difference in this environment. And the economy also. People will not migrate to the city also.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
think that's a good message. How everything is interlinked. Water,
very much interlinked. Coromandel,
produce.
that's why I put the word Coromandel monsoon. I didn't put it as a northeast monsoon. This region, Coromandel region.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
I think, we have taken more time due to the unfortunate incident, hacking which has happened.
Part and parcel of our life.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing all your insights and your 13 years of research as an individually with your own effort.
Yes.
So you have enlightened all of us, and there's more to do. I think as researchers working in the field of water resources and environment, I think there is a lot of work to be done in the northern parts of Chennai. Which has not been given adequate focus.
Yes.
We have to dig into the research and see papers and see what is already been done and what we can do. I think this actually gives us a lot of insight into what research direction we have to proceed. And there is we have a very vibrant department, water resources and environment department, with a lot of students. So we will certainly take up more research in this area and probably work with your organization on ground also to see how we can save the Pulicat Lagoon in the future years to come.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Thank you all for joining.